This first week of April, the Iowa General Assembly is in the second funnel week of the current session. Both chambers debated both new and familiar bills in order to keep them alive for possible passage. Bills that failed to meet the deadline were proposals to end tenure at Iowa's 3 public universities, scholarships for students who transfer from public schools to private schools, and restoration of voting rights for felons. Meanwhile, on Monday, the Senate proposed immunity for the operation of emergency vehicles. Floor Manager Republican Carrie Colker and Democrat Nate Bolton were at odds about the measure.
We certainly believe that there are reasons to reduce liability in car chases and in responses to emergencies. But what we're doing here is going way too far in allowing dangerous conduct to be protected.
And I'll just remind everyone, it isn't immunity. It's no personal liability. Recklessness is current law, and that's what's written up in this bill. Recklessness means no care coupled with a heedless disregard for the consequences. It's defined in all case law. And I would also like to remind you that this passed in 2019 unanimously, 50-0 with your vote on this in 2019. So the only thing that we added was emergency management. There were no other changes to this. So I respect you voting for the bill and now not voting for the bill. And I would ask my colleagues to support this bill.
To buy or not to buy propane and natural gas was at the heart of Senate File 455.
Senate File 455 is a bill that forbids local government from prohibiting or restricting consumers' option to use natural gas or propane.
The genesis of this bill came in part from someone's concern that somehow the city of Des Moines might try to abolish or prohibit the sale of natural gas. I think the chances of that are even lower than the negative temperatures that we experienced back in February. That's just not going to happen. Even crazier would be a county board that attempted to prohibit the sale of propane. Again, that's just not going to happen. So I think that this bill here is an attempt to solve a problem that really doesn't exist, if that was the genesis of it.
Those voting aye, 29. Those voting no, 16. The bill, having received the constitutional majority, is declared to have passed the Senate.
Tuesday, education returned to the Senate as the Education Committee debated House File 802 that spells out training on sexism, racism, and diversity at government agencies and schools.
House File 802 is the other half of the original bill that we sent to the House related to free speech, and deals with the trainings related to conducting diversity trainings. It prohibits training that teaches divisive concepts that are defined in the bill in higher education institutions, K-12 institutions, and it does add in that we did not have state and local governments. Divisive concepts include race and sex stereotyping and race and sex scapegoating, among other things. The bill states that this section is not meant to be construed as violating the First Amendment rights of individuals, principles of academic freedom, or preventing diversity and inclusion training.
So we're violating, for the umpteen thousandth time, local control here. It also violates academic freedom. The Senate file, which was very controversial, but at least it had some language in there that protected freedom of discussion in the classroom. But you can't have freedom of discussion of a curriculum that you are prohibited from even introducing even for the purpose of critiquing it.
The ayes are 8, the noes are 5. The bill passes.
Wednesday, the Senate Judiciary Committee approved several proposals that now also go to the full Senate.
And what the bill does is it makes it a Class C felony to unintentionally kill someone by exceeding the speed limit by 25 miles per hour or more, and speeding is the proximate cause of death.
This bill creates a civil cause of action against the person who committed
harassment. So essentially, it gives us a person who's a victim of false accusations with law enforcement another avenue other than having criminal charges filed against the person who's lying about them. They can also have the option of bringing a lawsuit.
This bill establishes a parent's right to direct care and custody of their child in a fundamental right, that it is a fundamental right. Any infringement on this is subject to strict scrutiny. Marital status should not diminish this right. The parent is presumed to be a fit parent, and the presumption can only be overcome by clear and convincing evidence.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Current Iowa law makes it a charge of child endangerment to knowingly allow a person who is required to register as a sex offender to have access to a child. This bill would also make it the crime of child endangerment for the person who is the registered sex offender to be alone with that child. There are exceptions for the parent of the child or guardian who is not otherwise breaking the law. That concludes my opening comments.
This bill is allowing a prosecution witness who's a minor to testify in interviews and depositions remotely, separate from the defendant. The defendant's attorney can be present, the defendant can watch on closed-circuit equipment, and the defendant can communicate with their attorney electronically. So essentially what this bill does, it's designed for pretrial depositions and interviews, especially in regard to thinking that we don't want people who have been sexually abused to have to be in the same room with people who have committed that abuse.
The point of this bill is in a situation where a parent, let's just say the mother has decided to give the child up for adoption, but the father does not agree and would get custody if she goes ahead, so it gives her 30 days to change her mind so she can keep custody of the child.
Monday, April 5th, the General Assembly begins week 13 of the current session. The House will consider only Senate proposals, and the Senate considers only House business.